Hello, this is Ryan from Communication Platform. We are just getting started here where we are going to look at a quick nausea, vomiting, diarrhea remedy to prevent dehydrated related deaths in the poor developing countries. We work in poor regions, both are urban and in the village, in the bush, as we say. Of course, this quick disclaimer you can go through here, but in short, none of this is official medical advice, not to be taken it as medical advice in any way, not to go ahead and treat, cure, diagnose, or any kind of disease, and that this is not endorsed by any health organization or state entity or medical board or nursing board. This is just simply information, nothing more than free information and food for thought that you should always follow the rules and regulations and laws of your own region and state and country. And so here we go. Basic at-home treatment for vomit, fever, and diarrhea. So you have to understand in a lot of the poor developing world, we have like children and babies and toddlers that die very needlessly every day around the world by the thousands because of dehydration, simply because they don't have a clinic or hospital that can put an IV in their arm, start some fluids, and stop the dehydration-based death. It's insane. It is insanity. Adults die from dehydration too in these poor areas, but definitely a large fold more the babies and children because they just can't manage and hold dehydration as well. They can't manage it. And so you have to stop whatever the disease, whatever the virus, bacteria, or parasite is, you have to do something to stop it. So here we go. First, you can go ahead and stop vomiting with just smelling, rubbing alcohol or just chewing on raw ginger a few minutes. You're going to also need to make an oral rehydration solution. You can see the thing there, the 8 teaspoons sugar, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a liter of clean water. Also, you can just use a large pinch with, I would say for a teaspoon, you can use a pinch with 3 fingers. 3 fingers, you can just make a big pinch and call that 1 teaspoon because we do work in areas in the village in the bush where there is no measuring spoons. And so we just use 3 fingers just as a big pinch as a substitute for 1 teaspoon. All right. And for parasites, you can pause this also wherever you are if this is going too fast. For parasites, you want to make sure that if you can add diatomaceous earth, most parts of Africa and Asia we work in do not have diatomaceous earth, but if you have it, it's an excellent thing to go ahead and kill parasites. And so there is the information there for that. Same thing, just you can use a pinch with fingers as a substitute. We don't really worry about overdosing a child on diatomaceous earth, but parasites are serious, and that is something to have. As a quick side note, this is something that the diaspora of an area can work together to go ahead and get funding. Not even funding. This is just like, for there's just one family member from your city or neighborhood or village or whatever can go ahead and send your area a bag of diatomaceous earth if it's not easily found in your part of the country, because this is cheap stuff and it's highly effective for parasites. So, to take internally with water. So, all right, now the most important thing, the home remedy for vomit, fever, diarrhea. So you're going to create this remedy. We say always continue it for a child or adult until there's no fever, but I actually say not just till they're without fever or diarrhea or vomit, but I would even do another 2 or 3 days to be safe so they don't get a rebound. And so you're going to take a liter of water, boil it, and you're going to just, if you can add 2 drops of chlorine, liquid chlorine. I understand most places won't have that, but if you have it, great. If not, then you can also just add 4 pinches of salt, and you're going to let that sit for an hour. Then after an hour, you're going to go ahead and take 4 glasses or 4 cups, and you're basically going to just line up on the table 4 glasses or cups. None of this is like super scientific measurement based, and it won't be able to be in a lot of the places that will use this to save lives, to save their babies or children from dying from vomit, diarrhea, dehydration based death. And so you're going to go ahead and just fill a third of your cup, fill a third of each of the cups to go ahead and just fill it with water. That's the first third. All right. And then the next third, you're going to fill with a local juice. I would say apple juice, mango juice, even orange juice, but to fill it with a juice. And you can just press the juice from whatever fruit is local to your area. So a third of water, and then the next third will be with the juice. So you filled now all of them up 2/3. And again, we say we hope that this saves lives. There's no guarantee on any of this. And again, and none of this is medical advice. We went through the disclaimer, but in areas that are so desolate and so struggling that there is, I mean, if the deaths are already occurring and there's not adequate clinic or hospital access, and the alternative is doing nothing or doing this, then for the love of God, let's get community people to do this and try to save some lives. So now in the next pot, you're going to have a separate pot, okay? Because each of those 4 cups or glasses you have on the table, there's like the last third, right? The last third is like an empty space at the top. Good. So just leave them on the table. Now we're going to go to make a separate pot. You're going to go ahead and you're going to get some onion juice, lemon and lime juice, ginger juice, and apple cider vinegar if you have it. And I would do, like a small amount of each. This is not an exact science, because all you're going to do is you're going to leave this in the separate pot, and you're going to use this mixture of whatever limes and ginger you press into it, maybe a couple spoonfuls of apple cider vinegar if you have access to it, because you're going to use this creation in the separate pot to go ahead and fill the last third of the other 4 cups. So in this same large separate pot, now you're going to add some herbs to what you just added here for the lemon, lime, ginger, and apple cider vinegar juice. And now what you're going to do is you're going to get any local herbs you can. That I understand in lots of the parts of the world, people say we don't have access to some of these, and we know that. That's why we give a listing. So we know that different regions have different local resources. So these are ones that we've used with children that we don't worry about big safety issues. And so here it is. Turmeric. And when we say the ingredients, we're talking about the powder. We're talking about if you get any of the herb and just grind it and grate it up into this large separate pot. Turmeric, garlic, fennel, cloves. Cloves is very important for parasites, by the way. Ginger, reishi mushroom, true cardamom, holy basil, another important one, holy basil, and ashwagandha. You know what? I might add oregano oil to that too. I would add oregano oil to that list. And now you're going to just take a small handful of each, whatever you have. And again, people say, oh my God, we're going to give all this to a baby or a toddler. No, you're not. You're just creating a master large pot that you're going to take tiny, tiny little bits of all these combined ingredients from. So you're giving very small quantity amounts to the baby and children. You're just making a large amount, because in most places, when one kid has vomit and diarrhea and very sick, all the kids have vomit and diarrhea and are very sick with the same virus or bacteria or parasite. So we need mothers and fathers in the communities to be smart, make a large batch to help other children too, just as an FYI. Now, you're going to go ahead and into each of the 4 cups, now you're going to go ahead and you can add, we say into each of the cups, you can add, and forgive me, now you can go ahead at this point, you can fill the last, I think I missed this last detail on the last one. You have filled each of the 4 cups now with the last third of this cup each made, still leaving a little space at the top for these herbs that we're about to mix in. So now all 4 cups on the table, 4 glasses or 4 cups, are full, because the last third you put the combined onion, ginger, lime, and apple cider vinegar juice into. Now you're going to add these herbs, and in these herbs you're going to go ahead and you're going to have you're going to add this amount of pinches into each. So 2 pinches uh, into each cup. Into each of the 4 cups, you're going to add 2 pinches. If it's for babies you're treating, 3 pinches for toddlers. We say kids 1 to 4. 4 pinches for children 4 to 8 years old, and 6 pinches for children 9 to 12 years old, and 8 pinches for 13 years old. We understand a pinch with 2 fingers is not a very scientific measurement, but again, the quantity that they're going to get out of all this It's a actually pretty small amount. And if anything, I get worried won't be strong enough, therapeutic enough, not overdosing. So just to be clear, so so you could kind of keep track if you have a, you know, five older children that are going to go use one cup for, the older kids that would get, say they're, 9 or 10 years old. So you're giving 6 pinches of this, handful into each. And if you have like a couple 2 year olds and they're only going to get 3 pinches, just separate the cups so you know which cups have 3 pinches in them of this. And again, the pinches are all of these herbs combined up. So you're grinding and grating all of this together. And so they're not getting 2 pinches of each thing listed here. No, you're grinding it all up, mixing it all up in a large pot. And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to just add, that many pinches per age of child into the cups. Okay. So hopefully you have similar age kids, and if you have if there's a lot of kids you're treating, you can just repeat this entire process with 4 new cups for older kids. And we say 4 cups to make life easy for the mother or father at home doing this, so they don't get overwhelmed. But into each cup, go ahead and add that amount listed for the age of the children they are taking care of into each cup. Okay. And so that means they're getting like a little, in each pinch, they're getting a little bit of garlic, a little bit of ground up fennel, a little bit of clove, a little bit of, cardamom, a little bit of holy basil. Like they're getting a tiny little bit of each inside each pinch, right? So they've been mixed all together. Okay. So now you got these 4 cups. So you got these 4 cups. There are glasses in front of you that have all this wonderful stuff you just put in it, and the pinches of the herbs, these powerful antiviral, antibacterial herbs in it. And now you're going to go ahead and now you're going to actually try to, figure out what ounces. This part is kind of important. You want to know what an ounce is so you can kind of measure the quantity for a child per their age. And so we have the list here. I'm not going to go through all of it. Just look at the age of the child that they're taking care of in the house, and the parents will give the appropriate amount of ounces. At the end of the day, if there is literally no way to measure ounces, I would say to just start giving a spoon or straw full, I think this is on the next slide, but into the corner of their mouth, every few minutes to just start getting this in. Obviously, you're going to do a lot less for a 1 year old than a 10 year old that you would have them just try to drink out of the cup, the 4 cups you just made. But this is really the important thing is all we're doing is we're getting the best juices of the best and the best uh, plant herb ingredients of the best antiviral, antibacterial sources in a region where there's lots of vomit, diarrhea, and dehydration death, that we're trying to get this into their system where they don't have access to clinic or hospital to get the IV to hopefully prevent them from dying if they're that sick with nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea and fever. Okay? So, you have the 4 cups of the natural remedy we made to hydrate your sick children or adults, and that is the amount, the ounces we would want them to drink over the course of one day. And then they're sick for a few days, they got to try to re-drink that amount over the next couple days. If malaria is suspected, for the love of God, make sure you get dried Artemisia annua. It's Artemisia annua leaves, and you have them just take, we say 1 pinch for a baby, 2 pinches for everyone else. It's not very scientific, but we want to get them, we want to get these leaves, this medicinal leaves, dried leaves, into their mouth. You can mix it with a little water, grind it, grate it, however you can. Get that into their system. If malaria is suspected and they are in an area where they're not able to get adequate, smart malaria treatment, this is very, very important to do. Okay. Babies and toddlers cannot swallow this without vomiting because it will taste a little strong. Well, for one thing, it's not on here, but you can add sugar into this, right? So in all of these, cups you just made, right, that you finished, that when you made these 4 cups of this and you added the pinches, the appropriate amount of pinches and of the herbs into this, you can add into each of these 4 cups some sugar. If you have just pure sugar to make it a little sweeter, you can do that. That's one thing you can do. The next thing you can do is just give little bits into the corner of their mouth and using a straw. So we said kids 18 months and over, you can have them just try to sip it every 10 minutes. 3 months to 18 months, you can do 20 strawfuls. Babies under 3 months are very delicate, and hopefully, that's a very rough situation to have a baby under 3 months sick anyways, because we don't like babies under 3 months anywhere in the world to get sick because they really don't have any immunity. But again, if it's a baby under 3 months in the middle of nowhere where they can't get medical care, medical access, and they're dehydrated and they don't look good, or God forbid they have fever, we can do 10 strawfuls in the corner of their mouth every hour to try to get this in. Spread some, mix some sugar in it. And you're intermixing all this, by the way, with still breast milk. This fluid this natural remedy, that you made does not replace regular water and milk and juice. It does not, especially for babies. They still need to get their breast milk. Let me repeat that. Especially for babies, they still need to get breast milk every 1 to 2 hours. If the vomiting is so bad they keep continuing to vomit up this liquid, just repeat our steps 7 and 8 again, okay, where you go through that. And you put the appropriate amount of pinches from the plant, for eating, and you can do that morning and night if you can. If you are able to manage it, if the vomiting is so bad and a child just cannot keep this down and they just immediately, reflexively are vomiting this up, you can actually take a leaf of a plant, as long as it's a safe local leaf, a non-toxic leaf of a plant, and you can use it to go ahead and wrap that amount of pinches of those herbs. Remember those herbs? So the turmeric, garlic, fennel, ginger, reishi, cardamom, holy basil, ashwagandha, clove. You can take that and you can mix it all up and take the appropriate pinch per age listed, and you can take those pinches of those amounts with your fingers and put it in the leaf, and you can actually use it as a uh, you can use it as an anal, not an enema, but rather an anal dose where you get it into the anus and they can go ahead and take it rectally. Yes, we have done that. Where kids are vomiting so bad, we give it rectally instead, and that has saved lives. And that is great because you can absorb through the rectum, through the anus. And so that is something you are able to do. And you would still need to give the oral rehydration solution you made back in one of the first steps, from them sipping it all day, and you'd still try to have them take the liquid of all the other steps that we just listed as best they can from the other juices of the other things you created. So having doing it as a rectal dose in the anus is a last ditch effort for children and babies and toddlers that are vomiting that bad. But you can do it if you have to, and that would be the next option. And so there it is. And that's a very important thing we just went through pretty quickly, but it's one of the most important talks we can give because, again, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea for children sick with or without a fever, but just children sick who are in areas where they get dehydrated and they die from dehydration. If the choice is a real chance of dying from dehydration or doing this, then try this. Again, none of this is medical advice, as we've said a bunch of times, but a lot of the world is hurting. A lot of pediatric medicine is lacking in most of the places we work. And so we just teach and educate parents because we cannot allow something to happen when doing something smart like this. all these things we just listed: antiviral, antibacterial. This is stuff that's been around forever, and we're just not having parents in these villages or towns or even cities and neighborhoods where they can't get into the local clinic or hospital. They're not doing this, and it can be making a huge difference, right? The goal is to stop people from dying from dehydration based deaths, often from nausea, vomit, diarrhea from these viruses and bacteria and parasites. So there you go. Take it, share it, save some lives, and we will talk to you soon.